Good morning and welcome to the second exercise made with Power BI and concerning the competitor watch in the field of next generation sequence technologies. So as usually, before starting, I want to share with you what the representation of Microsoft Power BI is supposed to be done. So I open the application. It takes a while. Meanwhile, I share the screen. Okay, it's open. Okay, here we go. So we have three parts, three dashboards. The first one showing the ranking of the competitors of the players in the field of next generation sequencing. So we see a lot of Asian applicants in the first places, so on top of the list. I have added one slicer that allows to specifically select one of the players. For example, let's try the first one. I suppose that the first two rows refer to the same applicant, although written in different manner. And so we have a total number of 6 patent families. Okay. The second dashboard refers to a kind of classical view of protection strategy. In this case, I have selected from the slicer Illumina, which is a very renowned player in the field of next generation sequencing. And in the left part, you have this kind of pie diagram or ring diagram showing the strategy of the different denominations of Illumina Corporation and organized in a manner that puts in evidence the applications filed to each respective patent authorities listed in this column on the right. So globally, we have 127 patent applications, and some of them are filed to a specific patent authority. This is a very classical view. So if we deselect the name of the applicant, we can see what is the overall visualization, which is somehow a little bit confusing because too many data are included in this diagram. In the third dashboard, named Sankey, for the same player Illumina considered earlier, we can see that there are several denominations, so a corporate made by several subsidiaries, or perhaps the same subsidiary but with different spelling. In the middle portion of the diagram, there is the list of patent families, simple patent families according to the EPO definition. And each patent family, of course, is connected to the applicant, but is also connected by means of patent applications filed to different authorities to a list of authorities displayed on the right. So this is, for example, the situation of Illumina. But if we can, if we are interested to another player like Chinese Academy of Science, we can notice that the strategy protection followed by this Asian player is completely different. Because you see here that there are two possible denominations for this player, a huge list of inventions, but most of the patent applications are filed just to the Chinese Patent Authority, whereas a restricted number of patent applications is filed internationally directly to the World Intellectual Property Organization, just 3 cases, and just one to the USPTO. So this confirms that very often Chinese patent applications remain confined to the Chinese authority. So having said that, I close this dashboard and I open a new file. Sorry. Okay, let's say I say save. Okay. So I open another file, which is called exercise. And it is prepared on purpose for repeating the operations that I have shown 1 minute ago. So it takes a while to open. Now let me share the screen. It's a little bit slow. Well, it is not a great deal. It's not a problem. Okay. So we need to import data. So in order to rank the players, I import this file named ng's top players. Open. And I can see here that I have the number of patent families already counted per specific applicant. So I simply say load. It takes a while. Perfectly done. I just add one bar diagram. And I have two columns. One is named person name that I display on the y-axis, on the vertical axis. The other one is the count of patent family identified each by the DocDB family ID values that have been summed already by means of patstat online. And I place this column on the x-axis. Okay. Now you see I have a huge number of patent families in which no applicant has been associated. So I want to omit this data, this information from my diagram. And in order to do this, you see that I have a column here named filters. So in the basic filtering, I can choose display all but blank. And so you see that the blank bar disappeared and the other players with a name are displayed. Then we can place data labels on the top of each bar, just clicking on, and the values are shown here. I can, for example, change the color. For example, I want to display the values in green color. Okay. Fine. Okay. And perhaps I want to make them bold so that I can see more easily. And then I can add a slicer that allows me to choose the name of one or more players. So in the field, I just place the person name. Also, in this case, I filter out the blank values. I can also filter out values that apparently are not meaningful. And I just leave those that correspond to a real player. So if I hold control and click, for example, these two, I can see the number of patent families belonging to Academia Sinica. Okay, then I can also click on the three dots on top and add search, which allows me to search a player simply typing the name. For example, Il leads me to Illumina. Control and click each of these squares. I can see the situation regarding this player Illumina. Okay. And this is page number 1. Page number 2, I want to see the classical visualization of the strategy, of the legal protection strategy followed by each player. So in this case, I need to import the file name NGS whole data. I select this table here. And as you can see, the table contains the application ID value assigned to each patent application, the corresponding value of the DocDB family ID, and then the application authority and the person name. And I can simply load this table here. Fine. So now I select the ring chart, and from all data, I import in the legend, for example, the application authority. Details, person name, and values, application ID. That I can say count or count distinct if I want to count not duplicated application IDs. Then in order to distinguish between players, I can add a slicer here, like in the previous page, no, with the person names. I skip the blank and the not meaningful values. So, okay, I can add search here. So if I want to see the situation of Illumina, control and click allows me to visualize what Illumina has followed as a strategy to protect the respective inventions in different countries. So, for example, this is the situation regarding US. There is a limitation highlighted by this white line, perhaps because we have two different players. As you can see, one is named Illumina, while the other one is named Illumina Cambridge. Same thing for European patent application. Again, we have Illumina and Illumina Cambridge, and so on. Okay. Having said that, we want to create a Sankey diagram, and we prepare the Sankey diagram on page 3. In order to create it, we need first to import the Sankey diagram mode visualization. So we click on these 3 dots and we ask get more visual. We need to select, for example, by the keyword Sankey, and we see that 3 applications are displayed here. So we import Sankey chart. We simply say add. Okay, and as you can see now, there is an icon displaying the Sankey diagram tool. Now, we need to import from the NGS whole data, I guess. A selection of players which have been copied from the whole data table and are interesting because these are the players with the highest number of patent families assigned, except for the case of Illumina, which has been added because it's an interesting case. So if I click on top X Sankey, I have a list of players with the highest number of patent families. And as you can see, most of them are Asian, but this gives me only a partial visualization. But Illumina is also included. Before importing, I need to say transform data. So access the Power Query editor, which I will share in a minute. Here we go. Okay. So this is named top Sankey, and we see the table. And as I was saying, there is the possibility to visualize also the presence of Illumina. You see that if I just allow filtering of the data, Illumina is present in the list. Okay. But let's go back for a while to Microsoft Power BI. So I just say close. Sorry. Okay. In order to make the Sankey diagram, I need to import again as a copy of the table that we have just seen here. And I say NGS whole data, open. I click again on top X Sankey. And I load it once again. So we have two copies of the very same table. And now I switch to Power Query. I will share in a second on the screen. Okay. So this is the first copy of the Sankey file. Okay, now what I need to do is counting the records which are characterized by the same person name and the respective values of the DocDB family IDs. So in order to do this, for example, I just click with the right button on the mouse and I find the tool which is named Group By. I click on it, Advanced, and I say, first of all, I'm interested in a person name. Then I add grouping. And the second thing I'm interested is in the DocDB family ID value. And I simply say, OK. So as you can see, I have person name, value of DocDB family ID, and count. I can just change the name so that person name becomes A, DocDB family ID becomes B. And as you can see in the applied steps list, I have the list of all the operations I have performed on this table. So you can go back and forth, and if you want, you can modify certain criteria in order to count the data. Well, then I switch to the second table, which is a copy of the first one, and I do grouping again, but now considering advanced, the DocDB family ID values, and the application authority. And I say OK. And now, so if we go to top X Sankey, we have name of player, value of DocDB family ID. And in the second one, we have DocDB family ID value that I name A, and application authority that I name B. OK. Then let's go to the first copy, and we add one more step. So in this part of the menu bar, I see the tool named Append Queries. I click on it, and I say, OK, this is the current table, top X Sankey. So I choose the copy, add, and so these tables now become appended. OK. And then I just simply say, close and apply. Sorry. Okay. Done. So let's go back to the previous screen. Well done. Now you can see that I have the two tables, top X Sankey and top X Sankey number 2, both imported. OK. I just add the Sankey diagram visualization here. And in the source, I place the column name A. In the destination, I place the column name B. So this is the whole situation, which appears very messy because it includes all the selected players, the top players, including Illumina, which is not actually a top player, but it's an interesting case. In the middle part, the middle column with all these colors, you have the different inventions, identified each one by a single value of DocDB family ID. While in the third column, you have the application authorities, and you see that in most majority of cases, the patent applications are filed to the Chinese patent authority. Now, to specifically address a patent applicant, I need to create two slicers. So this is the tool for the slicer number 1. I make a copy of it. And the first one will include the data of column A. The second one will include the data of column B. OK. If we scroll the list, I can see that at a certain point, the name Illumina will appear along with other players. So let's suppose we are interested in Illumina. I just hold the control button and click on Illumina. There are different denominations, perhaps there is some typos, but these on the left are all the denominations referring to Illumina. Now, in this case, we just see the DocDB family ID values associated with this player. So now to find the application authorities, you see that on the right slicer, there is a list just referring to DocDB family ID values belonging to the different denominations of Illumina. And so I just need to go on slicer A, keep the control button pressed, and find, sorry, before finding, I just scroll the list. OK. Click the control button and then find the numbers corresponding to those displayed in the slicer B. So the first one is 521-18764. Here it is. And you see that this patent family in particular is associated to 6 patent authorities, which are displayed on the right. Then I simply go on, keeping the control button clicked, pressed, and then the second value, 533-70359. Here we go. And you see that also for the second family, the list of corresponding authorities is displayed, in this case, just 2. And then I simply go on identifying from the slicer B the DocDB family ID values that I retrieve in slicer A, and pressing Control and keeping the control button pressed, I just click on the corresponding DocDB family ID value. So you see that the diagram is now populated with further data, further information regarding the DocDB family ID values and the corresponding patent authorities. So I go on like this. For example, 545. Okay. 599. Is it 611 621? This one, then this one, then this one, 622, 628, 651, 691, 724. Okay. We are still missing 2 values, one of them being this one, the latter being 769. Yes, this is it. And so we have the complete list of patent families belonging to Illumina and the corresponding list of the patent authorities. Fine. Now we need to fix this situation, specifically regarding Illumina. How can I do that? So first of all, I add one button, which is a bookmark appearing here. I want to rename this button, simply adding a title on, the text being, for example, Illumina. And you see that the denominations appears on top of the button. Perfect. Now we add a bookmark. In order to do that, I just go on View, then Add Bookmark that I rename, replacing bookmark 1 with Illumina, and clicking Enter. So once this bookmark is done, I again go to the button and I say Action On, type bookmark, name of the bookmark is Illumina. So having done this, each time I press the control and the name Illumina, this diagram will appear. In order to differentiate this diagram from the whole list of applicants, I can just deselect Illumina. So this is the whole situation for all the players. And I can add another bookmark, another button, sorry. So insert button, which is of the same category. So it's another bookmark, essentially, but with a different name. Title On. And this will be called, for example, all players. Right. View bookmarks. Sorry. Add new bookmark, which I will call all players. Fine. Button corresponds to an action leading me to all players. So if I click on Illumina, I will see the situations which is specific for this player. If I click on all players, I will see the starting point. And doing this, I can simply dissect the situation, so the strategy followed by each specific player. So the substantial difference between this visualization and this visualization, specifically referring to Illumina, is that not only I have the possibility to list the patent authorities and to file the applications filed to each authority, but in this case, the visualization of each single player is straightforward. So you can follow the patent applications filed by the branch of the company, which is named Illumina. And you can distinguish these applications for all the other applications filed by the other members of the corporate. So it's a more granular visualization of the same information. So having said that, I wish to thank you again for the attention, and let's see to the final exercise regarding the patent landscape report.